podcast party. Descent into Avernus.
My name is Renascence. My friends and I have just reached the great library of Candlekeep. We're here to consult a local sage, Sylvira Savikas, about an infernal puzzle box we found. We're hoping that whatever's inside the box can explain how the holy city of Elturel was dragged into hell.
There is an enormous courtyard with nary a tree nor a well cluttering its cobblestone expanse. However, what you do see around the edges of the courtyard are a multitude of small buildings. You see on one side a small building with smoke coming out of a chimney, black smoke, and you hear the ringing of hammers. You assume that is probably some kind of a smithy. Next to that, there is a large barn, and the scent of horses and livestock seems to emanate from that particular place. On the other side of the smithy is an inn. You see that there is a sign out front. There is on that sign a picture of a warm and welcome-looking hearth, which is pretty on the nose because you see that the name of the place is actually called The Hearth. And on the other side of the courtyard is the most ornate of all of these buildings. It's a tall green and purple building, and there is no name outside of it, but you do see a picture of a smiling man with very voluminous cloak around him, and there is in his hands, almost as if he's offering it to you on the sign, a shirt of some kind of beautiful ringed material.
Irony, is that a tailor?
Yes. That's our local tailor.
Oh. Well, I suppose priests and librarians have to dress just like everyone else.
Well, of course, yes. I mean, we're not simple folk. We do like to look good.
Right.
And of course, on the left, that's our smithy and our stables. Carol Hammerbind. He's kind of the big guy in charge over there.
Right. Not to be rude, but I was wondering if we might be able to get in to see Sylvira Savikas as quickly as possible. We've got some rather pressing business with her.
Oh, of course. I just didn't know if you might want to stop for a drink. You've been on the road for, I don't know, probably a long time. The closest city is Baldur's Gate, so I'm going ahead and assume that you are from Baldur's Gate. So maybe you would like a drink.
And he awkwardly motions towards the hearth.
But of course, it's up to you.
I'm sure there will be plenty of time for that, but business before pleasure.
Fair enough.
Falaster looks at you and says, okay, well, I guess so, yes, of course. And irony brings you to the other side of the courtyard. There is, on this side, on the western side of the courtyard, an enormous green door. It's about 15 feet tall and made out of some kind of strange dark green stone that almost glows. In front of that door, you see another one of these guys with the purple robes on. This one has a long, very sharp-looking spear. Irony steps up and says,
these seekers wish to enter. They have paid the toll and wish to enter to speak to...
Sylvira Savikas.
Mage Sylvira Savikas. They have brought books with... I'm really bad at this.
Items of interest.
Items of interest.
The keeper at the door looks at all of you and says, if access is granted, they may enter. And he walks to the emerald door, places his hand upon it, and the door opens with a loud grinding of stone on stone. As the doors open, the first thing that you notice is that there is a beautiful sound that issues forth. That sound is the sound of singing. It's the sound of multiple voices singing. They are singing some kind of a chant. It sounds like this. I'll do my best. When nightfall is almost at a close, there from the gate wall shall descend a serpent to blow the horn of doom at the graveyard king of man. So saith the wise Alondo. And it echoes forth.
Yes.
So cool.
Sorry.
I thought you would like that.
I played that so many times that I can do
Me too.
in the year of the turrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, I just geeked out so bad. Thank you. That was great.
You are welcome. If I can make you smile and make anybody who listens to that who knows it goes, I played that game. Yeah, so that's what you hear.
Beautiful.
I will have all of you make a history check.
Okay.
Renascence got a 5.
Hylan got an 11.
Ofelia got an 18.
Thank God.
Aha! Ofelia. Yes, I mean, it's a song. You are a
I am a bard.
Heck yeah. So, you have heard of Alondo the Seer. What they are singing is the Endless Chant, as it is called, which travels through the keep day and night. This chant is led by a group of monks or chanters, but it actually sort of reminds you about Candlekeep for a second, because it is said that Candlekeep actually originally rose up around the walls of Alondo's humble tower. The Seer Alondo would be known for being the singular prophet whose predictions held true. In life, it was believed that Alondo had the gift of foresight, that he actually dreamed of events that were yet to come, and through such dreams, he could actually weave together the events of the future to create his prophecies. But what is known is that following Alondo's death, his citadel, his tower, in the place in which you now stand, Candlekeep, became a place for his followers to venerate his prophecies, and eventually the place for the accumulation of all knowledge in the known world.
Wow.
That is some cool history.
Corbin, you missed the song.
No, it's sung endlessly. He'll get it at some point.
It's just, it's on repeat.
Wait, you've got to stick around for eternity till they start over again.
Irony leads you all into the main keep. Now, the main keep, as you pass through the halls, you see that there are bookshelves, towering bookshelves, dozens of feet high, all stacked with books of varying sizes and widths. This is probably the most staggering sight that you have seen in your life. You've never seen anything like this. Think of the biggest library you've ever seen in real life and multiply it by 10. That's how long this hallway is. It's like the Library of Congress times a bazillion. There are thousands of books and scrolls packed ceiling high in this space. And in the midst of them, there are perhaps 24 individuals, humanoids, all wandering back and forth. They all watch you and mutter to themselves. None of them approach you, but they all are either speaking in small groups or are debating or discussing, or, to be honest, most of them are just sitting down and reading and writing. Scribes that are copying enormous tomes from one book to another, scribes that are reading and devouring as much knowledge as they possibly can muster. And Falaster looks to the left, looks to the right, smiles and says, yes, my people. I feel like I'm home again.
We may never get in here again, but while we are, I think we should try to find everything they've got on Avernus, El Terrell, the Companion, anything that might help us.
Oh, yes, I quite agree.
I agree as well.
Yeah, Falaster nods and says, oh, yes, we have quite a variety of information on that. But I will give you time after we meet with Savikas, yes or no?
Yes, yeah, we should.
Let's meet her first.
Hylan's going to discreetly take Renascence's hand because she's feeling a little bit dizzy. And she's just going to say, is this okay? It's just, I'm having, this is a little overwhelming.
Yeah, of course it is. Just, I've never met a tiefling quite like Irony either. You see, you may have noticed that every tiefling you've met up to this point is a sort of gesture to myself. Well, not to toot my own horn, but a sexy badass. And there's a reason for that. You know, when you think about what fiends are and what they want and, you know, what we're supposed to want, you know, they're usually attractive and well-spoken and all that, but just goes to show, you know, there's all sorts. You know, you can have a tiefling that's none of those things.
So rude.
Thanks. I feel better.
Wow.
I'm just happy to put that into context
And I let
for
go
you.
of your hand and I just walk beside you.
Yep.
Falaster and Irony in the lead the rest of you towards the other end of this magnificent room. And it exits onto an enormous circular staircase. And Irony begins to ascend, Falaster behind. Falaster looks back at all of you and says, "Well, hope you don't mind the climb."
Just follow up.
Has Falaster's demeanor changed since we've gotten here? Does he seem nervous? Like maybe he's up to something?
You can make an insight check if you want.
Ooh, 21.
His only change in his demeanor is that he seems much more comfortable. He seems perhaps happier, more satisfied. He doesn't seem like he's hiding anything, no.
Okay.
So there's a huge flight of steps.
Yeah, it looks to go up at least 6 or 7 stories.
Whoa.
Be one of the higher towers that we saw from outside.
And there are very high ceilings.
You look up in this circular tower, you see that the staircases do in fact go up, that the walls are punctuated by arched windows. Beyond that, you see way up to the top, and there is a crenellated circular roof above it.
Irony.
Yes. Yes.
He calls down.
You want to go for a ride? And I'm
Sorry,
gonna
what?
bamf out my wings, grab them, and start flying up the stairs.
Oh, whoa!
I'm not walking up these stairs, you crazy.
You guys watch as her wings pop out of her shoulders magically, and she lifts off the ground and whoosh, rises, grabs Irony, who is screaming either with joy or fear or maybe a mixture of both.
I'm
and
holding him very
whoosh.
securely.
You've got me. Who's got you?
Bahamut, baby. Bahamut.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Amazing.
And eventually you get to the top. You sort of look down. All of the rest of your compatriots are at the bottom of this tower, and you see that there is a landing, the top tier of this tower.
Sora, I've written down all the rules. No fighting, no stealing, no copying, no damaging. Nothing in there about no flying, so we're fine.
Exactly.
Is that fun? Did you like it?
You put Irony down on the landing at the top of the stairs, and he goes,
That was so amazing. I don't know if I could whoa, that was okay.
and he's like shivering.
Aw. It's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, oh, yeah, you're welcome. I didn't go too high. I didn't want to scare you too much.
Can you do that all the time?
No, I wish. I have to save it for special occasions, but I thought maybe you were worth it.
Oh, wow. That's really nice. Anyway,
So, while we're waiting, what's Sylvira like?
well, I only met her like twice, and she's really smart. She's like really into like collecting things. She has a whole big like laboratory with all kinds of cool stuff in it. I don't really know what it all does, but
Wow.
yeah.
She nice?
Yeah, she's nice. It's her friend. That's not always the not always the best, but it's okay.
Oh, who's that?
Oh, she's got this little dude who hangs out with her. He's kind of like this, like I don't know what they call them. They're like little like creepy little like green skinned dudes. They got like I don't know, like
A goblin?
No, not like a goblin. I know what a goblin is. These are smaller than goblins.
Really?
Oh yeah, like he's like,
And he puts his hands up to indicate maybe 1.5 feet tall.
Wow. I've never seen a creature like that.
yeah, it's okay. But, Sylvira's cool.
Well, that's good.
By that time, I think the rest of you are probably about halfway up the flight of stairs, unless you're running.
I give myself guidance. Does that help?
I'll open the bag again and see if Slobberchops wants to fly up.
That's a good point. You open the bag, Slobberchops looks up. You see that Slobberchops is in fact chewing on a piece of your rations, looks up, makes a wisdom check as to whether or not she wants to fly, and she does with a 21.
Yeah.
Slobberchops sees freedom from the bag. And she sort of crawls out with this thing of meat in her mouth, and she just goes, her wings splay out as well, and she starts to fly all the way around in little circles throughout the tower.
Off you go, Slobberchops. Carpe Library.
What do you guys want to just take it up to the top?
Just trudge up like schmucks.
Of course.
Yep.
I wish I could fly. That would be nice. One day to fly.
We all do.
It would.
Thanks for the ride, pretty lady, and I'm gonna go, wait at the bottom if you guys need me for anything. I'll be downstairs.
Okay, thanks, Irony.
Absolutely.
And he begins the slow trudge to the bottom of the staircase. Falaster says, I like that kid.
Me too.
He's all right.
Now, the door to what seems to be Sylvira Savikas' workshop lies before you.
So, Irony told me that Sylvira is cool, but she has some sort of tiny green creature that's not great. Has anyone heard of a green creature about this tall?
Like a little goblin?
No, he said it wasn't a goblin.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of such a thing.
I don't know, but I feel like those monks take the no fighting thing pretty seriously.
Oh, yes.
So I don't think it'll pose us much danger as long as we're inside Candlekeep.
Yeah, agreed. Just maybe, I don't know, be a little wary of whatever this is. I don't...
Not an imp, right? Because they're red, I think, right?
Right. Okay.
If one wanted to do a check, Matt, what would that be? History, nature?
Like a little green man check.
It's, little green man check. Don't you have that on your...
Is there a little green man in your head? No.
Good. I would say, based on the fact that you don't know of very many little green men in the natural world, that this would be an Arcana check. But based on the description, I'm going to give you a disadvantage.
That's fair.
Yeah, it wasn't very
I'm
detailed.
going to give you guidance.
Well, thank you. So that'll be a 10?
You don't really know, based on this description, what it is that was related to you by Irony.
I don't know what it is, but I have a great idea for a song.
Great.
Anyway, I agree, though, that we should be cautious, perhaps, of anything we don't know much about here.
Agreed.
Okay, are we ready?
Ready.
You enter Sylvira Savikas' chamber. Hi, everybody. The show will be back in just a minute, but right now we're offering free monthly online adventures with our Dungeon Masters. These free games fill up quite quickly, so if you'd like to grab a spot, you should join our email list or join our Discord server. Links to both can be found at cast-party.com. We recently launched an improved version of our online store. Check it out at cast-party.com. Do you ever feel like you have a really great visual picture in your head of something in your Dungeons & Dragons game, but you need a little help putting it into words? Like maybe say you're a dungeon master and get really tongue-tied at the absolute wrong moments. And, well, guess what? You don't have to do that anymore. The awesome description of Jezebel, for example, that quasit that you heard on today's episode, well, that was brought to you by Describe. You can check out thousands of other monster descriptions, spell descriptions, location descriptions, and more only at describe.com. That's DSCRYB.com. And of course, our professional dungeon masters are available to hire for online games. Check us out at cast-party.com and follow us on Facebook at CastPartyD&D, on Twitter at CastParty2, or on Instagram at cast_party. If you enjoy Podcast Party Descent into Avernus, please follow the show, rate us, and hey, leave us a review. We would love to hear from you. Message us on social media, or email us at info@cast-party.com. Thanks very much for listening. And now, back to our adventure in Candlekeep. You open the door, and the first thing that you notice are bookshelves filled with eldritch volumes standing around this circular room between the windows, while tables are crowded with specimen jars. You also see alchemical equipment and other clutter. Engraved into the floor of this chamber is a large 9-pointed star. You look swiftly up from this star to see a middle-aged tiefling woman dressed in wizardly garb standing by one of the windows, caught in what you assume to be a fugue of intense contemplation. And on the other side of the room, perched on the corner of a table nearby, is a spindly little creature, which, as you watch, briefly, upon seeing you, flickers through several twisted-looking forms. 1 second, it's a pale bat with 6 yellow eyes. Another second, it becomes an oily centipede with jaws that pinch the wrong way. And then another, a warty, pustule-covered thing, vaguely resembling a toad, before settling on something altogether more horrible. Its emaciated humanoid form, no bigger than a foot or so tall, is pinched and wizened. Its face is like that of an angry old man. It has warty green skin, buggy eyes, 4 thin black horns, none matching the shape or curve of another, extruding from its flaky scalp, and a rat-like tail slithers behind it. And it hisses at your entrance. As it does, the tiefling turns from the window and sees Falaster entering. And she says, "Falaster! Oh, I can't tell you how pleased I am to see you. What have you brought me?" As she sees the rest of you entering the room.
Do we know what that creature is?
You all can make an Arcana check.
Just a regular one, no disadvantage now.
Nope. Now you can see it. It may sort of bring some memories to the fore.
Renascence got a 19.
Ofelia got a 17.
Hylan got a 13.
Corbin rolled an 11.
Okay. Those of you over a 14 know this creature to be what's called a quasit. Quasits are demons. They are sort of the demonic counterpart to an imp.
Little frog guy.
Yeah.
They're like a little cute and a little horrible.
Yeah.
Yep. Indeed.
It's fun.
Hey, everybody, I'm a closet.
In what world is that cute? I'm just sorry. I gotta sort of like step back from that and
I think it's the big eyes. They're
Yeah,
sleep
it is.
eyes.
big black soulless eyes.
Well, but they just.
Well, but you're just like, hey, everybody, I'm a closet.
He's
Oh my god.
a little
Well,
cute.
Falaster says, "Well, I will allow them to make their own introductions, but things of import come with them. Please." And he allows you to all step inside.
We do. Hello, my name is Ofelia. She extends her hand first to Sylvira and then to the quasit in the form of the old man. A bit more tentatively, but with a cheerful smile nonetheless.
Quick correction, it's not like the closet looks like some
No,
like,
I was
weird
thinking the same thing.
old guy
Now people are going
in
to
the
picture like a
corner.
little old guy sitting there. It's taking the
cool,
form of an old
actually.
man. Oh, it is.
That's the worst. That's
Especially because he described it as the worst form of all. The old man.
Form.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn!
I mean,
No, quasit's meaning like it's pinched. It's sort of like a gross lined face. It's not like an old guy.
All right. Ofelia extends her hand to both and says, "Hello, I'm Ofelia."
Sylvira takes your hand, shakes it firmly, and as you let go to take a step towards this quasit and on the other side of the room, the creature leaps up onto one of the upper shelves of a bookcase and just hisses at you.
Oh, not much for handshakes. I see. That's all right.
Sylvira looks at you and says, "Oh, please, just don't mind Jezebel. She's harmless. She's just got a little bit of a bad attitude."
Oh,
Say to Jezebel in Abyssal, don't be rude, Jezebel.
Jezebel turns towards you, Renascence, and in Abyssal, which I imagine is sort of
Collection of words in every language jumbled together. Like it's like a cacophony of languages. It's the language of chaos. It just borrows words from other languages.
Yeah, it just like sounds like backwards and forwards at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like the little person in Twin Peaks.
Yes.
I will see you again in 20 years.
I can do this. Here we go. It says,
You are going to have a bad day here.
We'll see. I turn to Sylvira and I say, Renascence. Sorry, didn't mean to be rude.
Sylvira takes your hand and says, "It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance."
My name is Hylan.
Greetings, Hylan.
Thank you for your hospitality.
Not at all. Looks like you have some interesting information that might be useful to us.
Corbin doesn't introduce himself to her. He just stares at the quasit creature. And in Abyssal, he says, "You should listen to him." And he nods his head towards Renascence.
The quasit does not respond to you at all. All it does is hiss and spit.
I liked the bat better.
Sylvira says, "Well, I don't mean to not be a gracious host, but I don't have a whole lot of chairs. Hope you don't mind if we could sit on the floor if you'd like, or we could simply stand."
I don't mind standing. Sorry, has everyone introduced themselves?
"Oh, I didn't," Reya says. "I apologize. My name is Reya Mantlemorn." Sylvira looks at Reya and says, "Oh," and she puts her hand out for a sec and says, "I see that you've got a little bit of fear in your heart. You're worried about me, aren't you?" Reya sort of screws up her face a little bit and says, How did you know that?" "Well, there's nothing to worry about here, darling. I've got it all under control. You said your name was Reya Mantlemorn." "Yes." "Oh, right. Mantlemorn. Huh. Well, I guess what comes about here is quite interesting to you, I would assume. How did you... Never mind. It's fine. And, is that all of you?"
I believe so.
All right.
unless Corbin does want to introduce himself.
Corbin is purposely not introducing
Okay.
himself. He does not like this creature.
It's like I told the monks downstairs, Reya. Can't always judge a book by its cover. Point to my own horns. I say, Sylvira, gone to quite a bit of trouble to bring you something interesting. Falaster says you might be able to make some sense of it, and of what's happened to Elturel, and what almost happened to Baldur's Gate. And I reach into my satchel, and I withdraw the puzzle box.
She, upon seeing the puzzle box, almost sort of lunges at it. Like she takes a step...
Not so quite. Yeah, I will hold on to it.
Yeah, she takes a step forward, sort of recomposes herself and says, I'm very sorry. That's just a natural reaction. I am very pleased to see that.
Yes, a lot of people seem to have this reaction to this box. Tell us about it.
Well, what you have in your hands is, it's an infernal puzzle box. I've opened several of them in the past. They're crafted by the devils of the Nine Hells, usually.
What do they keep inside them?
Well, it depends. They are usually objects that safeguard information or objects which are placed inside.
What about demons?
She looks over at you and says, "What about them?"
Are they ever inside?
Oh, usually not. Demons and devils, they don't get along.
This box was in possession of a corrupt Baldurian noble, Thirstwell Van Thamper. He was trying to open it but failed. We think there might be something inside that either relates to the disappearance of Elturel or the plot to send Baldur's Gate into Avernus just as Elturel was sent.
Falaster steps forward and says, yes, it was in the possession of the Van Thampers. I myself was assigned by Master Savikas to spy on the Van Thampers, and it was assumed that they had this, as well as the other thing. Should we talk about that?
We'll get to that. Corbin, I turned to Corbin for a moment.
Yeah.
When I talked about how I couldn't figure out why someone would do this to cities, that there was no profit in it for the Van Thampers, you said something very interesting, that it wasn't about a profit. It was that someone had made a deal. Maybe I turned to Reya. Maybe Thavius Creed. Do you think this box could be part of that deal?
I don't know what's in that box. Could be anything. But if devils are involved, I mean, from my training, they like to make deals. And you can't trust them. He looks at Sylvira and says, what have you found in the past in these boxes, specifically?
Well, they're usually designed to safeguard their contents, but they are actually more infernal temptation devices. See, any box can be locked, and any lock can be picked. But a puzzle, well, a puzzle entices. And she says that with a sort of a note of darkness in her voice that you've not yet heard until now. And she sort of steps away from it as if the box is almost magnetically pulling her in. And she says, oh, I'm sorry. Apologies.
Is it dangerous?
No, of course not. Not dangerous at all, unless you don't open it the right way. She turns to you, Renascence, and says to you, and she says, you're a smart man. I've always suspected that there's been something associated with that puzzle box and its owner, the High Overseer of Elturel. I've been suspicious of him for a long time.
Thavius Creek owned this box.
Oh, yes, of course. No one wanted to hear my concerns, because Thavius Creek was widely regarded as a hero who saved his city from an undead scourge, giving rise to the holy nation of Elturgard. No offense, dearie. And she looks over at Reya, who becomes quite tight-lipped. Yes, of course. Thavius Creek, hailed as a savior. He made all citizens of Elturel swear an oath called the Creed Resolute, which binds them to defend the nation of Elturgard. I met him many years ago, and I'll tell you, my instincts told me he was a charlatan. And afterward, I grew to suspect that he had cut a deal with one or perhaps more powerful devils, using the Creed Resolute to bind all Elturel to his dark deal. So, with that in mind, and the beans spilled, if you'd be so kind, I wish to prove my theory. And I believe that the evidence is locked inside that puzzle box.
He twisted their oath. The oath of the Hell Riders. This Creed Resolute, that's why they're in hell.
In a way, yes.
Doesn't that break the deal by twisting it?
No. Deals are made with specific words in them. The Creed Resolute, it is an oath. And if you break that oath, then woe betide to you.
So, the Hell Riders are bound to defend Elturel. Elturel goes to Avernus, Hell Riders go with it.
In a nutshell, yes.
I don't know if this is important, but we met Thavius Creek, and we actually had to kill him.
Oh my.
Because he transformed into a horrible creature. I don't know if this is useful information to you, but He was no longer just himself.
He was a fiend.
Of course, it makes sense. If you make a pact with a creature like a devil, you're never going to see a good end to it.
You don't know that.
Everyone's eyes turn towards Corbin. I'm sorry?
I said, you don't know every deal? How would you know?
Well,
Do you know every fiend and all their deals? You know nothing. Why are you in league with the demon? And he nods his head towards the demon.
that's Jezebel. She's my familiar. I'm not in league. She serves me. In fact, if you'd be so kind, I will ask Jezebel to do her duty in assisting me with this little experiment.
Got something to ask in return before giving you the box.
Of course.
An apprenticeship here in Candlekeep.
To who?
My brother, Thomas Wheelwright. It's a wizard. A wizard who knows the future.
Interesting. So he's a diviner.
I don't know the word for it, but sometimes he knows things that are going to happen. He knew about some of the things that are happening now.
Really? Well, the first of us all, the greatest one, Alonso, was of that sort of magic. I will keep my part of the bargain and admit this. What did you say his name was?
Thomas Wheelwright.
I will accept Thomas Wheelwright into Candlekeep to begin his, as you call it, apprenticeship. If you do us all a favor and allow me to test my theory with that box.
I gently put the box down on the table. All yours.
Wait, who gets the contents of this box?
I guess.
It's information, I think, Corbin.
Who gets the information?
Sylvira picks up the box and rotates it, and for about 10 seconds her eyes flit over its surface, as if she's studying it. You ever see those folks who are so amazing at Rubik's Cubes that if they pick it up off the table, they can figure it out in an amazingly short period of time? That's what Sylvira is doing. She's studying it. She's studying that design on the outside of it. And after 10 seconds, the edges of her mouth go up in a wide grin. And she says, yes, of course. Very tricky, but I think I've got it. Jezebel. And she calls over to that quasit, who hops down from the bookshelf onto the table. She snaps her fingers twice, and she points at a flask of dark liquid on one of the tables. Jezebel grabs it, hops onto the floor, and then hops up onto Sylvira Savikas' shoulder, giving her this flask of dark liquid. Sylvira takes this flask and pours a small amount of it into the maze-like troughs carved into the box's surface. She then tips the box so that the liquid flows in certain directions through the maze-like patterns until the liquid reaches the center of the maze, and the box's horn inlays pop loose, and it breaks apart. As it does so, orange-red light gleams from the remains of this box as it falls to the floor. And levitating out from this box is a stack of 9 chain-linked plates, each about 3 inches on a side, cast of some kind of dark iron and stamped with infernal runes. And she smiles and gasps at both the horror and the beauty that she is witnessing. She translates the runes in this very inhumanly deep voice, almost as it comes forth from an unknown place from within Sylvira. She says,
Sorry. Just as she's doing it, Renascence would like to try to read along just to make sure she is not omitting, changing, or adding anything.
Absolutely. Yeah, she does not omit a thing. It's almost like she takes pleasure in reading the evidence of her suspicion, now completely founded. She says,
Be it known to all that I, Thavius Krieg, High Overseer of Elturel, have sworn to my master Zariel, Lord of Avernus, to keep the agreements contained in this oath. I hereby submit to Zariel in all matters and for all time. I will place her above all creatures, living and dead. I will obey her all my days, and beyond, with fear and servility. I recognize the dispensation of the device called the Solar Insidiator, hereafter called the Companion. In my capacity as High Overseer of Elturel and its vassal territories, I acknowledge that all lands falling under the light of the Companion are forfeit to Zariel. All persons bound by oath to defend Elturel are also considered forfeit. I further recognize that this dispensation will last 50 years, after which the Companion will return whence it came, taking Elturel and its oath-bound defenders with it, if that is Zariel's wish. All this is my everlasting pledge.
And Sylvira sort of shakes her head as if she's undergone some kind of a trance and sort of staggers back a couple of feet, and the 9 plates clatter to the floor, no longer gleaming. Reya Mantlemorn collapses onto the floor and begins to weep. Her worst fears are confirmed.
Terrible.
He sold them. He sold all of them.
Ofelia kneels next to Reya and strokes her hair gently. She says, "You could never have known. This is not your fault."
She's just crying. She's losing it. I'm losing it.
Yeah, that's awful.
You can help us find a way to set this right, Reya.
Reya looks up at you, Ofelia, and her cheeks are stained with tears. And she grits her teeth and says, if Zariel wants my soul, she's welcome to try to take it.
That's what I like to hear.
This is the name that Melitium wouldn't say.
Who is she? I say to Sylvira. Who is Zariel?
She's an archdevil. One of the 9. She's one of the most powerful. Probably also one of the newest. But she's insidious. Evil to the core. She rules Avernus.
Was she the angel?
She strokes her chin for a second and says, what angel?
We saw statues of an angel in a temple underneath the Van Thampa Villa.
Didn't an angel summon the Hell Riders to Avernus originally?
An angel did lead them, yes, and was lost in the battle. Reya looks back and forth between all of you and comes to some kind of mental break and says, wait, are you saying Zariel is an archdevil? The angel who led my people is now the darkest of all evils?
I'm saying that I look at everyone. We are our choices, not our nature. I find that comforting myself.
I don't even know what to say to that, Reya says. If an angel can become so corrupted and false, then what hope do any of us have?
If an angel can do this, then it means even a fiend can set it right.
Reya does not respond. I'm sorry this has come as a bit of a shock to some of you. I'm happy to...
I've got something else to show you. I unstrap my shield from my back, and I say, Gogs, meet Sylvira. I turn the shield so that the face is facing her.
Yeah, as you turn the shield to her, she puts her hand towards it, but then sort of shrinks back and says, my goodness, this is interesting. This is a beautiful item. Gazing at it, one can easily overlook the terrible force bound within it. You called it what? Gargs?
Sort of a nickname. There's a devil inside it. His real name is Gargoth. Isn't that right, Gargs?
Yes, that is correct. Gargoth, the creature you call Gargs, does not speak, issue forth any kind of message as you speak about it at all during this time.
He's sulking at the moment, but I'm sure he can hear every word you say.
Sylvira continues and says, yes, its true name is Gargoth, I believe. It's actually calls itself the Hidden Lord.
Yeah, I'm not going to call it that.
Fair enough. Gargoth was a pit fiend. It was sent by Asmodeus. I hope you know who I'm speaking about when I say that rather terrifying name.
Lord of the Nine Hells. Archdevil of the Archdevils.
Oh yeah. Big, bad, evil guy. Asmodeus was allowing it to come to the mortal plane to corrupt mortals, and there, Gargoth amassed such a following as to rival that of the gods. In that way, I guess the creature you call Gargs became sort of a demigod. And having worshippers increased its power exponentially. My, oh my, how the mighty have fallen. And then her wry grin turns to a rather serious look, and she says to all of you, I don't think you know what kind of an object you've brought to us here. This shield has the power to corrupt everything around it. Do you know the Hune family in Baldur's Gate?
We know one member of that family.
Well,
wasn't that the lady that we rescued from
Yes.
Tampa Villa?
Yes, from the.
The mean lady. Yep.
Well, we didn't know she was mean, right?
well, no, you
She
didn't
wasn't
know.
not mean.
She was kind of
She was-
standoffish.
Supercilious and annoying.
Yeah. Sylvira says, well, the Hune family has kept that shield for years. I'm quite surprised that you found it in the basement of, where now? Van Tamper Villa.
Yes.
Actually, in the same room with Thavius Krieg.
Interesting. I guess all the pieces are falling into place. Well, doubtless the Hune family will want it back. But this shield should not be taken to any place where thousands of mortals reside. It needs to be, I don't know, locked away in some place.
I want to put it back in hell. I think that's where it belongs. That's where he belongs. Because anywhere we leave it around, even a protected place like this, you know, of course, someplace like Baldur's Gate, there's always going to be someone who's going to pick it up and be corrupted by it and use it.
No, that's of course is right. I was thinking it could be locked up in Candlekeep's vaults, but it's too dangerous to leave here. She sort of thinks for a second, her eyes trace the corners of the room and says, yes. Traxagor might know, but, and then she looks at all of you and says, how keen are you on taking a little bit of a trip?
I say, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I feel like the shield is one thing, but the main issue is Elturel.
Oh no, I completely agree with you. Traxagor, who's a personal friend of mine, he's a mage who actually is kind of an odd fellow, but he's certainly a worthwhile meeting. He and his personal friend, who I know is absolutely efficient at destroying devils, they may have a way of you going to hell, if you're willing, trying your best to bring it back. I know one of you certainly is gung-ho on doing it, and she looks over at Reya. But will the rest of you join her?
I'm silent. I'm just remembering that vision that I had.
Corbin is silent.
Now, I know, listen, I'm sorry, I know you don't trust me. I could tell from the moment you walked into the room, you saw Jezebel, you'd looked at me, and you don't trust me. I get that a lot. I'm sorry, fair enough, but...
It's not that I don't trust you, but you've got to understand, for us, like, we've been brawling with pirates in a tavern, and we took out a few cultists and a sort of, you know, some corrupt nobles, but that's all I don't know how else to explain it, but that's all real. Like, real people made of meat, you know, you can punch them, right? And I feel like that's sort of the level on which we've been operating. That we're the people to go to hell and straighten all this out.
I'm going to take the drawing out that the tree made and hold it up to her. Is this what's in store for me?
Her eyes go wide as she looks at the picture. She says, "That's quite a depiction there.
What is this thing?
It looks like a piece of bark."
Funny.
The thing in the picture that she's fighting, what is that?
Well, that's a rather malevolent entity. It's a devil called a Malebranche, horned devil.
Any tips?
Run?
That's the thing. I think no matter where I run, I'm running towards it.
I'm sorry.
Before we go, which I think perhaps we should do, we don't have to right away, do we? I know we had wanted to do some reading about Avernus. Perhaps, at the very least, we could arm ourselves with some knowledge of what to expect, how
Yes,
to
of course.
outsmart or defeat such foes as we may encounter.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're going to find any material about the Nine Hells, devils, etc., it will be here. You can certainly spend, goodness, hours, days, weeks, months. But considering the problem of Elturel being in Avernus, I would say that sooner rather than later if you're intending to go.
I think we need a few days.
A few days? Reya looks at you and says, "A few days?"
You can go armed with a sword. It might last a few minutes. We go armed with knowledge, we might actually have a chance.
Sylvira says, "Well, considering how many there are of you, I can direct you to the more expansive areas of the library where we keep all of our information on the Nine Hells and the Devils. It shouldn't take you more than the rest of the afternoon to understand what it is that you're intending to get into."
I don't know that we are... Look, we need to talk this over a bit, yeah?
Oh, I'm sorry, I assumed.
Renascence, what is there to discuss? It seems like this is, at least for some of us, our destiny.
I want to do some research no matter what, and I want to look a few things up. So
I agree.
I would like to see that part of the library on the devils.
Me too.
Of course.
Yes, I'd like to read as well. I'll have my answer in the morning, I think.
The morning, of course. Reya looks at the rest of you and says, "I only know that I can't do this alone."
And you shouldn't, Reya.
You won't have to do it alone, but I'm not going to run into hell right now. I need more information.
Agreed.
Sylvira turns and says, "Well, may I be the first to give you the first bit of your potential information about Avernus, then, if you so desire it?"
Go on.
She turns to a corner of the room where there stands a waist-high wood table with small circular holes cut in it. And through these holes are large scroll tubes. She pulls one of these scroll tubes from this table and pops the top off and empties out from the scroll tube an enormous piece of parchment. And she says, "Well, this map might not be entirely reliable. Its creator went mad after all, making it. This is one of the few known maps of Avernus in existence." And she unfurls it on the table before you.
Hell of a map.
Ha
That's the map of Avernus.
Nice. I mean, by nice, I mean terrifying.
It has
But,
a
you
sort
know.
of Hieronymus Bosch goodness to it.
Yes.
I like the look of the demon zapper.
Love a demon zapper.
The landscape is just, I mean, what do you expect? It's hell. But it is very Hieronymus Bosch. there is a flowing red body of water, blood, lava, you're not sure, that edges itself through the landscape from northwest to southeast. It scriddles its way through this map, and there are a variety of landmarks on it. You see enormous, what could be volcanoes or crevasses. You see clouds that seem to have acid-like material coming out of them, lava pools, fires, never-ending fires, as well as several edifices. You see something called the Demon Zapper, which has some kind of like, it looks like a tower, like almost like a very Lord of the Rings sort of Sauron-like tower sticking out of it, and a couple of other enormous obelisk-like edifices that all ring around the map. In the northwestern portion of the map, you see an enormous dragon skull, but if it's to scale, this dragon would be absolutely gargantuan.
Looks like a fever dream.
Yeah, it is totally a fever dream. And it does say next to it says Monument to Tiamat.
Great.
That's probably a nice, friendly place that's not too dangerous or
course not.
anything. Probably got an amusement park in it.
My brother drew things like this. A lot like this. It almost looks like he could have drawn it.
Who did create this map?
Sylvira says, well, this map was created by the cartographer Nico Sovana. Nico was an infernal researcher, much like myself, who was actually quite interested in the charge of the Hell Riders. Some say he actually journeyed to the location in the Nine Hells where he believed that it took place. But unfortunately, Sovana went quite mad as a result of his expedition.
We have some reading to do.
Of course. Let me give you the time that you need between today and tomorrow morning to do as much research as you'd like. You had a guide with you, didn't you?
Falaster.
Oh, no. Well, beyond Falaster. Falaster waves his hand and says, no. I think that she means irony.
Irony.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, irony.
Yes, I know of irony. He's a good lad. Irony will be more than a suitable guide in your research into the places in the library where you can find information about, well, everything that you need.
Thank you.
I'll hope to see you tomorrow morning, yes?
Yes.
She smiles and nods her head. Very well, then. You know your way out.
I pick up Gargs again and sling him over my back.
It's at this time that Gargoth speaks to you, Renascence, and says,
Hello, Renascence.
Hello, Gargs.
Listen, I've heard a lot here, and seems like you guys are heading back to my old stomping grounds.
Go on.
Now, you know that we honor our deals where I'm from. So, here's an offer that you probably shouldn't ignore. It seems like you're keen on taking me back to the Nine Hells. Here's my promise. I swear to serve you, and only you, faithfully, as both a guide and an advisor. Where you're going, you'll need all the help you can get, even from someone like me.
Not making a deal with you, Gargoth. Putting you back where you belong. Where no one innocent can pick you up. Back among the fiends. Best place for you.
We'll come to some kind of an agreement soon enough.
and then he goes quiet.
I go quiet too. You can play at this game, Gargs.
Anything else anyone want to say to Sylvira before she lets you out?
Thank you for all of your help.
She nods and smiles.
Corbin would like to scoop up those plates that are on the ground
Sure.
from the puzzle blocks.
Yep. They're made out of a material that you're actually kind of familiar with as you sort of pick it up in your hand and weigh it. Corbin, it feels just like the material of that soul coin that you currently have in your bag.
He takes a breath and he packs them away.
Okay. Reya stands up, nods at Sylvira, and exits the door without saying another word. And the rest of you follow. Thanks for listening. This episode featured Tal Aviezer as Renascence, Andy Cannistra as Painbearer Corbin Shiv, Carolyn Fox as Hylan, Rachel Tamarin as Ofelia, and me, Matt Gordon, as the Dungeon Master. This episode was edited by Carolyn Fox and Tal Aviezer. Our original theme music is by Lauren Anker and Anthony DiMasso. Some sound effects in this episode are courtesy of Syrinscape. Remember, if you enjoy Podcast Party Descent into Avernus, please follow the show, rate us, and leave us a review. Thanks very much for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode.
Real quick, have you guys seen the Greg Davies stand-up bit about E.T.?
No.
No.
He's amazing.
Do I want to?
Yes.
He goes, I'll ruin E.T. for you in 5 seconds.
Great, do it.
So I watched it with my friend, and he leans over, he goes, if I found that thing in my shed, I'd stove its fucking head in.
With a shovel.
With a
Oh
shovel.
my god. Well,
End of movie.
That's terrible. That's terrible. I
Yeah.
can't believe it.
our listeners are gonna hate
I
us
know.
after that.
Well, that part's probably not making the show.
Yeah, probably not put that in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.